of interest? Why, yes, it is. What's Gayo? Why would you want to put it on your sandwich? You wouldn't. You wouldn't want to put it on your sandwich, I'll tell you that. But I'll show you what Gayo is because it's Pride Month and they're trying to ruin everything. I mean, it's hard to ruin mayo. Have you ever been to a Subway? Right? Like, okay, more mayo than that though, but a little bit, just one more line of mayo. If it was rainbow colored, I wouldn't be asking for more mayo. Mexico and their new president. Yesterday, goodness. Now there are people who've gone to Mexico seeking a freer way of life, and they thought chocolate cereal was cheap and abundant, and this place is like, Canada was in the 90s, and I've heard a lot of people saying Mexico is great, and then this happens, right? This is like what happened to Alberta, like people who moved to Alberta, and then for whatever reason, Jason Kenney was a tyrannical nutcase while running Alberta through COVID. So it was one of the worst provinces, right? And so, I mean, Canada was one of the worst countries as well for this COVID lockdown and the nonsense that we've had to endure. So what's happened in Mexico is a darn shame. And I nearly started with that song on the streets of Mexico, but I thought it was a little too on the nose. And if we didn't have full-blown treason, like honest to goodness, full-blown treason blowing up in the House of Commons right now, I would have started with Mexico to talk about that because it's an interesting story, but I'm going to leave it to the end of the show. So you'll have to watch the whole show if you want to hear about Mexico. But it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Like there's a picture here. I'll show you just to wet your whistle just a little bit because there's a picture of this woman right here. Hold on, you can't see it. Here, right? Look at her. Look at her. This is the new president of Mexico. She's wearing a mask and she's between the trans flag and the OG pride flag, right? So, what? So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, we have to start with the full-blown treason happening in the House of Commons currently. So here is a reporter and they say, hey, Chrystia Freeland, totally looks like treason. What do you have? What's up, man? What's up? And she just, this is not the clip where she sits there with her mouth open. That's the next one. Here is this. And is she going to answer the question? Is she heck? Come on, she doesn't answer questions. This is a liberal. She doesn't answer questions she doesn't like. Here we go.
Ask about the NCCOP report, and my question is for Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland. The report describes behavior that might constitute treason, and yet we've seen no charges. Does that concern you?
No, because she's worried that the people are going to be like, Chrystia Freeland, are you in there? This is the RCMP. No, she's not worried about that. She's relieved. Thanks for the question, she says.
Thank you for the question. I want to start by thanking the committee and the chair, David McGuinty, for their very serious...
Is this an Oscar speech?
...work on this. I think that their work, the cross-party nature of that committee, the seriousness with which they have approached this, the real...
Fundamentally, she runs out the clock, 90 seconds of bullshit. Sunshine up your bum. That's all she's saying. She's not saying anything material or addressing his question. She's saying, NCCOP's great. And they do a lot of really hard work. Thanks, Chrystia Freeland. What? Paul says Parliament is filled with known enemy agents of foreign governments, but the Trudeau Liberals won't name names. I'm forced to assume that there are many prominent Liberals who are being protected. The Liberal regime is burning Canada to the ground, says Paul. Yep. Here's Ryan. He says, watch how not to answer a question. Freeland pausing to come up with a non-answer says it all. So here, I watched this like twice because her long pause, I was like, are you kidding me? So here's just a little bit, and then I'm going to compare it to Peter Griffin. Here we go.
If we have potentially MPs still sitting in Parliament who this committee says wittingly participated with foreign governments to undermine our elections, does that not undermine Canadian confidence in our Parliament and in our elections?
I think...
Are you kidding me? That was like a good 5 or 6 seconds. She's just sitting there with her mouth open. Here is Peter Griffin pulling his best Chrystia Freeland, okay?
Here in Rhode Island.
Until you make the unconscious conscious.
Sorry.
So this map, many believe his treasure.
So Chrystia Freeland is just sitting there with her mouth open for a really long time. And then she doesn't answer the question.
I think Canadians recognize how lucky we are to be Canadian and how strong our democracy.
Did you hear about the treason? Does that concern you? We're really lucky to be Canadians. I like Canada. And butter. What are you talking about?
I think Canadians are smart and they recognize that there is a
Yes, could you stop stealing money from my taxes, please? We are smart. You're right. What? What?
very real threat. I think in the work of this committee, in the measures, the new and enhanced authorities our government has put in place, I think Canadians see that our government takes.
This was a report that said that there's a whole bunch of treasonous MPs. Are you going to give us the names or no? They're not going to give us the names. They're not going to give us the names. How can we trust the government now, says Eva Chipek. My question is, you trusted the government? When? Not for years. Not for years and years and years. Have you watched this show, Eva? You should watch this show. Blacklock's reporter says rat finks on Parliament Hill are reporting to foreign missions, and in one case, a foreign spy agency. That's blood-curdling. National Security and Intelligence Committee, INSICOP, report federal lawmakers took money from foreign embassies and spied on colleagues. Wow. That's crazy. Are you going to tell us their names? The federal government? Right? Here's Sean Fraser, and he says, no. He says, don't worry, the RCMP are going to deal with it. Oh, I can't wait. Have we got any kind of information about what happened in Nova Scotia that one time? Here's Sean Fraser. I'm going to have to turn it up, but I'll turn it up as we go.
Well, usually these things would play out in a different forum where that is protected with the processes that affords an opportunity for a person to make a defense should they feel that's appropriate. In the absence of those protections, given the nature of an obviously very serious forum that needs to be considered in a manner that protects national security considerations, you obviously don't want to be openly discussing ways in which foreign interference could be conducted, where those who might have ulterior motives might be paying very close attention. So from my perspective, the appropriate investigations ought to continue. Many of them, particularly if they involve criminal investigations, will be done independently by security officials, by police agencies, and I think that would be an appropriate forum should law enforcement deem charges to be
a bit of a cop-out, right? And saying that this is something that should be handled behind closed doors, individual investigations, no public information at all. Are there any arrests? Or do we have any suspects? Do we know the names of these people? Do you know the names of these people? Seems like they do. Seems like they know and they're not going to tell us, right? Martin says, cover up, pure and simple. Canadians deserve better and should demand better. Release the names from all parties. National News Watch is reporting. Government won't commit to releasing names of MPs who allegedly conspired with foreign actors. Deputy Prime Minister Freeland said Liberals will conduct an internal follow-up on meddling claims. Oh, goody. They're going to investigate themselves. Again. I can't wait for that report. We didn't do anything wrong. Everything else is redacted. F off. That's the last page of the report. Actually, it's the first page of the report, and the rest of the report is redacted. 7 Love says, MP Paul Chang, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, Markham, Unionville, Ontario, on 3/23 and March 23, MP Chang sits right to the PRC Deputy Consul General Cheng Hongbo. On 10/4/23, MP Chang sits right to the Prime Minister Trudeau during question period. So here, close to power. Here, close to power. Right? Are these signals that we're not seeing? When I talk about we're standing on the field and we're playing the game and we don't know we're in the game, and they run down the field and they have a touchdown and they dance on the field and we stand around and go, that seems like something important just happened, right? This is what I'm talking about. This is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Somebody's watching this and they see this picture. Somebody sent this picture, right? Hey, can you take a picture of me and Hungbo here and just send it back? I've got to send it back to somebody. And they send it back to somebody. And then, they nod, very good. And then this picture gets put up on our government video feed, and bingo, bango, bongo, right? Like a message sent, message received, right? That's the kind of stuff that's happening in plain sight. We can't see it because we're not looking for it, but some of us see it and say, did they just score a touchdown? Are they dancing in the end zone right now? What's going on? Did we miss it? Maybe we should get in on this game. Maybe we should start playing this game. Maybe we should, if they give us the ball, maybe we should go and try and run it into their end zone. Like maybe we should do something to counter this obvious stuff that's going on right in our face, right? And so I have questions, right? And Andy Lee has questions. What are the names? Do they include Justin Trudeau? Do they include Chrystia Freeland? When asking, there hasn't been arrests, does that concern you? And she says, not really. Is that because she's in control of it? Or is it because she's implicated and she's glad that she's not been caught yet? Is it because she knows that the police aren't going to make any arrests at all? Are the police cowed as well? Who watches over the prime minister to make sure the prime minister isn't breaking laws? Because it seems like we're getting screwed. It seems like the Canadian public are getting screwed. Mark Johnson says the media have completely ignored paragraph 32 of the NSICOP report, allegations that the People's Republic of China paid media to write articles or change and withdraw articles needs to be addressed. So here's Article 32. According to intelligence community, the PRC was the most capable actor in this context, interfering with Canadian media content via direct engagement with Canadian media executives and journalists. 6 sentences were deleted to remove injurious or privileged information. The sentences describe examples of the PRC paying to publish media articles without attribution, sponsoring media travel to the People's Republic of China, pressuring journalists to withdraw articles, and creating false accounts on social media to spread disinformation. So the people who are trying to spread real information, or just letting you make up your own mind, telling you what's happening and you make up your own mind, are getting silenced and removed from being able to be monetized on YouTube, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. While these people, other people who are lying, are getting paid to tell you misinformation by various actors, state actors, our own government, just spies, people, I don't know, acting by themselves, but somebody acting maybe tangentially for the state, but for their own means fundamentally, right? So there's all sorts of vectors of attack for information. And like, who knows who's paying the person who you're getting information from, right? Like me, it's you, basically, that's it. But for a lot of people, YouTube shapes what you can say, and they'll remove your monetization if possible. There's all sorts of other places that will do things like shaping what you can say, and like Facebook removes things, X limits the reach and capability of saying things. Still to this day, they're vicious. They remove posts of mine all the time, not just videos, posts as well. So like it's really, really interesting that state actors have that level of ability, and they're utilizing it, they're flexing it. It doesn't help us, right? John says, I've got a new column coming out in the Western Standard later today about the bombshell revelations in the NSICOP report, but I've realized since submitting it that the biggest threat to Canada's democracy isn't rogue senators or MPs working with foreign powers, although it's still incredibly bad. No, what's worse is the apathy of the average Canadian. Our electorate has been so numbed by this Trudeau Liberal government's constant scandals that this seismic news is barely eliciting a response. Yeah, that's interesting. I said that yesterday. What is it going to take? Like, this is a big deal. Like, treason is a big deal. Anyway, this isn't just a few MPs behaving badly. It's treason, sedition, espionage, or a potential criminal combination of the three. This is Canada's own version of the January 6th U.S. Capitol attack, except instead of a QAnon shaman guys storming the floor of the House of Commons, the culprits are already sitting in there quite comfortably, apparently untouchable. This is Canada's quiet insurrection, and it's being carried out by our own government, and we are apparently okay with that. I don't know that we're okay with it. We are victims. Like, we have been gaslit. We have been crushed by government emergency powers and then told that the government was well within their rights to do that, while we watch pro-Palestinian protesters behave very aggressively, similar to the Black Lives Matter guys who are ripping down statues, et cetera, et cetera. The pro-Palestinian people are putting up encampments and wrecking the place in different ways. And we're told that they're allowed to continue that. That's not violence, that's reparations. But peaceful truckers honking, that's Hail Hitler, right? Like, that's what we're supposed to believe. And so do you blame the victim if the victim has been cowed? Like, if the victim has been so thoroughly dominated that they believe they deserve it, do you say, yeah, they deserve it? Screw that guy or that gal, right? Like, they totally deserve it. Look at how they're behaving. right? It just doesn't sit right with me. And yeah, we're not responding the way we should respond. We should be demanding their heads, proverbially. They should not be allowed to continue governing. Obviously, the confidence of the House is compromised. We have the Governor General should be stepping in. There are emergency stop situations, protections built into the government. And these are the situations where you use them. And that's not happening. And why? And why aren't our leaders calling for it? Why aren't our leaders trying to sort this out? This is treason. This is not a small thing. I mean, do we have a Pierre Poilievre response on this yet? I haven't seen anything, right? And so this is a big deal. What's happening is a huge deal. And I don't know if we're going to see anything happen because of it. But is it the Canadian public's fault? Is it our fault that we can't realistically demand these people resign? Why isn't there a big push to call for resignation? Why not? Why not the NDP? Why not the Liberals, right? Like if the Liberals have been compromised by China and we're in a much worse situation and being invaded by foreign countries, why aren't people upset about it? Why aren't we demanding the Liberals step down? I don't have a good answer. I'm genuinely asking. But saying that Canada deserves it, I think is blaming the victim. And I don't think that's helpful. And I don't think that the being upset with people for not knowing how to respond when you find out that your government is full of treasonous so-and-sos, not that they'd be excused, but there's no infrastructure. There's no party. There's no group talking about this. There's no group saying, I'm going to fix this. It's fixable. We could fix this. But there's nobody saying, I'm going to lead the way. I know what the problem is. The problem is this Chinese infiltration and the treasonous people in our government. And the way to fix it is this and this and this. And I mean, Poilievre is maybe kind of talking about that a little bit, but I don't think to the level of leading the way out, right? And so we'll see. I don't know that there's anybody to rally behind. I don't know that there's anybody to rally behind provincially or federally, really. But it seems like Poilievre is going to kind of continue the whole thing, right? It just does. It just does. I don't see any, other than axe the tax, right? I'm not seeing really strong language on, these treasonous people need to be removed from our government, and we need to do everything we can to make sure that this never happens again. Like, I haven't heard anything like that from Poilievre. And this has been, I feel like I'm late on this story. This story has been kind of like a red wine. You pour it and then you let it kind of breathe, right? And the flavor gets better. It's supposed to, and the story will mature. And then you're like, ooh, the nose on that is great, or whatever. I don't know. I'm not much of a wine drinker, really. But usually when there's a story like this, it's more people jump in on it and start talking about it and start using the strong language that needs to be used. And like the opposition leader will have something to say about this. Does the opposition leader have something to hide? Does the opposition have something to hide? Are there a lot of Chinese influence in the opposition ranks? If the opposition leader doesn't have any Chinese influence in his ranks, why isn't he pushing that? Like 24 hours ago, why isn't he pushing that? Like, we've seen this news and we don't have any Chinese influence in our ranks. And here's Mr. Chong here, foreign minister, shadow minister, and he was targeted by Beijing, and we demand this and this and this, and we demand 24 hours, and we've called the police. And you know what I mean? Like, where the hell are they? What's happening? Why not? Why not? Oh, people don't like it? So to the degree of where's the response, I think I blame the opposition at this point in time. Where's Bernier? I haven't seen, has he been talking about this? I haven't seen it. So, I mean, it's one of those things where it's concerning. Andrew Coyne says the NSICOP report is absolutely stunning. In any other country, it would cause the most extraordinary uproar. Politics would come to a halt. Heads would roll. The police would be called in. Here, the response or non-response from the political class is revealing. Yeah. We knew that there were treasonous so-and-sos in our government the whole damn time. Like, where's all of the people? This Andrew Coyne has an Israel flag and a Ukraine flag in his profile picture. Who could take this guy seriously? Wow. I'm not going to read any more of his stuff. Pierre Poilievre says, jaw-dropping report from the Auditor General today shows $200 million Canadian tax dollars went to Trudeau's friends at McKinsey, not worth the cost. Now, McKinsey has close ties to China. And the guy who was the McKinsey connection was made the ambassador to China. So there's a lot of connections between McKinsey and China. So this is another $200 million just often up in smoke, gone, right? Andy Lee says a new report by the Auditor General on federal contracting practices regarding McKinsey is scorching. Across the 97 contracts awarded to McKinsey, we found frequent disregard for procurement policies and that contracting practices often did not demonstrate value for money. So it was just a giveaway. It was just tax dollars for them to pretend to work, right? And it's a very nice, clean profit thing, and everybody makes money except for the Canadian taxpayer who gets screwed. But we don't know about it because we don't get an itemized list of what the government spends their money on. That'd be great. Hey, like once a year you get a full itemized list. This is the money we took in from taxes. This is how it was spent to the penny, right? Catherine McKenna, where's the money? Why can't you do that? We could do that. We could do that. We could do it digitally, or we could do it on paper, right? Like, jeepers creepers. Cam Guthrie, we got to talk about the ongoing invasion. Moving on from the complete and total treason and betrayal that our government is currently inflicting upon the Canadian people, we've got to talk about the other side of that, which is the ongoing invasion that they're facilitating with our tax dollars. So Cam Guthrie is the mayor of Guelph, and apparently he doesn't see himself as one of these comfortably housed people, which is odd because he certainly is. He says the comfortably housed sometimes need to be reminded that they're still comfortably housed when new housing is being built for others to become comfortably housed. What the heck is comfortably housed? And it's so weird to shame people who have been able to buy a home and live in the city, and shame them on behalf of foreigners who don't have a stake in this place at all and who seem to hate it, actually. I just thought it was a weird thing to say to everybody while you're trying to replace them all with foreign invaders, right? It's weird. It's a weird flex. It's a weird thing to say. And I think all of our politicians should probably be removed from office because they're terrible. True North says Immigration Minister Mark Miller announced 2 pilot projects that would see people who come to Canada as caregivers automatically given permanent residency upon their arrival to Canada. Huh. What? How does that work, right? How does that work? Just because you're a caregiver? Caregiver to who? I don't know if there's actually more information. Hold on, I'm going to find it. Here it is. Anyone coming to take care of seniors, children, or disabled people will be offered permanent residence upon their arrival into Canada under the new programs, which aim to expedite the journey newcomers settling in Canada. Caregivers employed by organizations that provide part-time or temporary care for people recovering from an illness or injury will be qualified to enter the new programs. According to Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, over 15,000 caregivers will be admitted as permanent residents over the next 2 years. How about no? How about let's not do that? That's a terrible idea. Let's stop. These people are treasonous and they don't represent Canada. They are just flooding our country with people who probably shouldn't be getting permanent residency and who probably shouldn't be here in the first place, right? Like, sorry. Steven says another totally normal day in Canada. This is elections stuff. And this is the Justice Minister at Attorney General's office. This is Free Palestine protest. And they've got like bloody bags and stuff in front of Verini's Parkdale High Park office. And it's interesting, like, why aren't people this passionate about Canadian freedom, right? Like, why are you interested in Gaza freedom and not Canadian freedom? Super weird. They're paid to do this. This is a paid for protest, okay? Verini's going to use this as a justification to up the speech controls on anti-Semitism or whatever it is. All of this stuff is very suspect to me. It's going to be used in an election, and you just have to pay attention to that kind of stuff. And again, there's so many things to pay attention to that we're almost doomed to not be able to keep track of it all, right? Patty Haydu is trying to bury Pierre Poilievre by saying he's going to protect innocent babies from being killed by the state. You know, what a horrible guy. And then fundamentally he says, no, I won't. But he said that during the leadership debate a couple of years ago when he took control of the Conservative Party, a year and a bit ago. So Patty Haydu says, right-wing politicians want to undo the hard-won gains fought for by our mothers and grandmothers. We won't let them take us back. What happens if your mothers and grandmothers had the choice to, abort their babies, their Patty, right? Like, how do they have children, right? They don't. Maybe just not specific children. But here's Pierre Poilievre saying Poilievre government won't do any of that.
Poilievre. A Poilievre government would not introduce or pass legislation restricting abortion.
That is a litmus test for anybody who wants to take leadership of the Conservative Party. If he had said instead, yes, we'll prevent people from killing babies, and we will pursue alternatives like adoption because I was successfully adopted and look at me now. He didn't say that, right? He said, yeah, we'll definitely maintain that ability. Women's health, rah, 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 which is bullshit. It's not women's health, and it doesn't take into account the life of the child. So I'll never be leader of the Conservative Party. I suppose. But it's weird, right? It's weird. The Liberals are saying the Conservatives aren't going to let you kill babies. And the Conservatives are saying, yes, we will. And everybody's cool with it. And it's weird. It's a weird thing, right? This is electioneering in Canada. If you say, hold on a second, we're going to protect the baby, we're going to find avenues for the mother. There are lots of people who want babies, who maybe can't have babies. And so we'll find a place for the babies. But we're not going to just kill them willy-nilly because that sounds anti-human and terrible. But we'll take care of everybody in the best way we can, making sure that life is paramount, right? Nobody's saying that. Everybody's saying, you know what, don't worry. We'll make sure we'll kill that baby so that woman can do whatever she wants. Weird. Here's another one, right? The Liberal Party says Pierre Poilievre Conservatives say they would vote gay marriage down. Our Liberal team won't let that happen. And Jonathan Kay says this is a straight up lie. Not sure what the process is for reporting this crap to Twitter, but I'm sure some of you know the drill. So these two were on a podcast the other day, and I thought that the Liberal looked, together and in a suit, and the Conservative did not. And then they participated in this, we'll do this up and down, voting up and down thing. And so he got him to say he'll vote down gay marriage. And so technically correct, but the whole spirit of it was different. Here we go.
If there's a vote on gay marriage, up or down?
I vote gay marriage down.
Nothing can be taken for granted. That's why we celebrate so loudly. That's why we stand so strongly together, and that's why we will continue to do this work together.
So there you go. I thought it was the other way. I thought this was the Liberal and this was the Conservative. Am I wrong about that? Like, I thought this is not Nate. He says he's going to vote gay marriage down.
I vote gay marriage down.
So that's the Conservative. So I got it wrong. I thought this was Nate. What's his name? And I always get his name wrong. But this doesn't look like Erskine Smith, so maybe it's a different Liberal. So apologies for getting the people incorrect, but it was a little bit of a trap, right? And I mean, he probably should have known that. So again, they're going to use this for election stuff. They're going to use this to say, see, the Conservatives are going to take away your rights. And the reality is the Liberals have taken away a lot of rights, and it's intolerable. And we shouldn't pretend that they are champions of Canadians' rights at all. Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful